Okay.
Well, a warm welcome everybody to the second patient information event with the Practice. My name is Robert Williams. I'm the Vice Chair of the Berkhamsted Patients Subgroup. In case you don't know, there are three subgroups, Tring, Markyate and Berkhamsted, which form the Patients Participation Group, or PPG, and that provides a voice for all patients. Our patient involvement with the Practice helps to maintain standards and improve communication, and with that in mind, the next hour is an opportunity to update, to learn about progress in improving the service, and to hear answers to questions raised by us, the patients. We're going to hear from Steve Sharpe, General Manager, Dr. Kate Thomson, GP, Managing Partner, and staff who've been integrated into the Practice to provide support services to patients. I'm going to hand over to Steve Sharpe to introduce the Practice, our new staff, and provide the service update. And this will be followed by questions to the Practice. So Steve, over to you.
Thanks, Robert. Firstly, thank you to everyone who's joining us this evening. As many of you will be aware, we provide performance updates and information about changes to the Practice regularly on our website, our Facebook page, and also the PPG newsletter. But with meetings such as this, hopefully we're also able to ensure that we continue to provide as many ways to communicate with our patients as possible. We would also like to reiterate the value of the patient groups in Tring, Berkhamsted and Markyate to also disseminate information, but also for patients to ask questions of us and to help us to ensure we continue to provide the best possible patient care we can within the scope of the services we are required to provide by the NHS and Hertfordshire County Council Public Health. Firstly, as Robert mentioned, we're going to look at some of the associated roles which we have within the Practice. So before providing some of the Practice updates and answering some of the questions on areas that patients have recently raised, we'd like to introduce some of the clinical roles that are now in GP practices to support the care that we provide. These include paramedics, first contact physios, mental health nurses, advanced nurse practitioners, pharmacy technicians, health and wellbeing coaches and social prescribers. Everyone will have seen practice nurses and healthcare assistants that have been working in practices for many years. The additional clinical roles, though, not only provide additional capacity for patients to access the services, but also provide more specialised care for the patient than simply seeing the GP. So this evening, we have some of our clinicians from these additional roles at our practice who will be briefly explaining what they do. So we have Matt Childs, who's one of our paramedics, hopefully Ravi Shankar, who's one of our first contact physios, Claire Windsor, health and wellbeing coach, and Ina Kotorobe, who's one of our social prescribers. So without further ado, I'll hand over to Matt. Are you with us, Matt?
Did Steve just disappear, or did he introduce me? Sorry, it's gone very quiet.
Yeah, for you, Matt, your bit.
Thank you. Sorry, it broke just as you went there, so I'm sure what you were doing. Hi, my name is Matt. I'm a paramedic at the surgery. I've been there since October last year. I was previously at another surgery in Watford for a couple of years, and then Wimbledon. So I've been in practice about 5 years. I've been a paramedic for 20 odd years, 25 years now. Employed primarily to assist the GPs with minor illnesses, so I can take the strain off of them. Also home visits for the housebound. Paramedics are quite adaptable at going out and about and seeing people in the community. We're very good at gathering information. We have a mentor every day that we report back to, a main GP that we will debrief with in the morning and the afternoon to prescribe and issue any medications and to go through the cases as we've seen them. Obviously, the triage on the day, if there's any urgent visits, we can accommodate those as well. So the practice will benefit from having us there. There's Natalie Hartley, who's a paramedic as well, and nurse practitioner, Sam, who also does the same sort of role. So we assist the GPs in every way that we can, and the practice, and make it easier for people to get service from the surgery. So by visiting them, taking the surgery to them basically, and then bringing back all the information and hopefully treating them and keeping an eye on them. We do the vaccinations as well. So yes, anything we're asked to do, basically we do it and help the surgery out as much as we can.
Thanks, Matt. Ravi, you're next. I think we've got some slides as well, which Ben will put up.
So have you put the slide up? That should do. So I'm Ravi, I'm the first contact physio. I've been with Rothschild since 2020, so right from the middle of the COVID, since June 2020. So if you go to the next slide, Ben. Right. So first contact physiotherapist, as the name suggests, we are the first contact. So you don't need to be referred by a GP. You can come and see the first contact physiotherapist straight in the surgery. We are a highly specialist musculoskeletal physiotherapist. So we are trained to take GP's musculoskeletal caseload. So we can assess, diagnose, and manage any complex musculoskeletal condition like back pain, neck pain, knee pain, any osteoarthritis. So as the name suggests, any muscular or any skeletal, any bones and joint problems, we can help you with it, help with you. Other than that, we are trained to be able to, unlike other physios, or traditional physios, we can refer you for bloods, we can refer you for x-rays, and if needed, we can refer you to the specialist. What is important that we are not the traditional physio, so we don't provide physiotherapy. However, we provide advice and we provide exercises for your condition. But if you needed to have a physiotherapy one-to-one session or supervised session, we can refer you for physiotherapy. And also, we are not replacing existing musculoskeletal physiotherapy service. So once we have seen, we think you can self-manage or you need to be referred to a specialist, or if you need to be referred to physio, we can refer you to the physio. When to see, I think I've already explained that. So any bones, joints, any aches and pains, you can come and see us. How to book with us. So I think my PowerPoint is not updated. So traditionally you can book through the reception, but there are a lot of new things Rothschild is doing. So you can do e-consults. You can also do, you can go on NHS app and book straight with the first contact physio. Right, if you want to go to the next one. So there are some data we have taken. So that is for all of Decorum, not just for Rothschild. So we have done around 6,300 FCP appointments, and we have seen 44% around new patients, 55% chronic condition patients. However, DNA rate is 5.28%, which is compared to national average of 10%. We are quite decent, I think, which can still improve. And most of the cases we managed in this GP surgery in primary care, so people are happy with what we advised and how we treated them. Where some of the patient need to be referred, so we have referred to musculoskeletal specialist or physio, as I discussed before. And this is around 11 FCP, but this is an average. 80%, around 80% is managed in primary care, and remaining 16% is managed in a musculoskeletal services, or which is Circle Health now. So next slide is just, we collected some feedbacks. If you can share again, Ben, the next slide. Right. So there are some feedbacks. I think we have to up our games. So that this is the limited feedbacks we could take, which we have taken. So the total feedbacks we have taken around 1,100. And if you see on an average, things we have considered, how easy it was to book and what is the waiting time, if we meet the expectation, if the patient was treated with dignity, we listen and explain to them, and they felt informed and involved, and if they were overall satisfied with the treatment. So overall, it's around 97, 98%. The waiting time is something which is 93%. But again, that's something we are considering to see, or we are at the moment seeing any patients for first contact physiotherapy service within 2 weeks. So that anything which is taking over 2 weeks is an exceptional cases when, if first contact physio is a holiday and there's no appointment available. So that's not too common. So at the moment, we can get an appointment within 2 weeks. So there are some feedbacks which we can share, and overall, feedback's been good. And people are happy with the service, and they're pleased with the service. Yeah, so that's it from me, really. Thank you.
Thank you, Ravi. It's Claire on next line stand. Just a moment, Claire, and I'll just load your slide.
Shall I start?
Yeah, all yours.
Okay. Hello, everybody. I'm Claire. I'm the health and wellbeing coach across Alpha PCN. And what I see people for, I usually say, if you have any symptoms or concerns or diagnoses or blood test results that could be helped by lifestyle interventions, that's what I see people for. So I'm not a clinician. I won't be ordering blood tests or doing many clinical referrals, medication reviews, etc. It's about supported self-management. So somebody might come, they might want to lose weight, or they might have overwhelming stress, or want some new techniques to deal with anxiety. They might have tried the diabetes prevention program and their glucose is still too high. So then they might come to me and we'll talk, have a conversation. We can have up to 6 appointments, and we have a conversation about what they would like to achieve and stepping stones to get there. So a lot of the time people know what they need to do. They're just having trouble getting traction, like behavior change. So that's where I help. A lot of people say, oh, when they know they're coming back to see me, they keep on task because they've got to come back and tell that woman what they've been up to for the last 2 weeks or 4 weeks. There is, if anybody wants to come and see the health and wellbeing coach, you can be referred in by somebody at the practice, but also you can self-refer in. You just need to let somebody at patient services know, and they will send me a message. There is a bit of a wait at the moment, maybe up to 4 weeks at Tring, sometimes shorter in the other practices. So yeah, when some people know what to do, then we'll be setting goals and accountability, and usually tracking the personalized goals as well, either on a paper tracker or an app if people like to use those. A lot of the time in the first appointment, it's people giving me an insight into their lives, and we get started with the small goals, but it really takes traction from the second session onwards. We have people losing weight and bringing their glucose down, bringing blood pressure down. And I do some referrals. I work a little bit with the social prescribers. So I might be doing a social prescribing referral if someone's quite lonely, or if they're a carer, if they've had a recent bereavement. As well as seeing people one-to-one. I also run some projects, and one we achieved recently was gaining active practice charter status from the Royal College of General Practitioners. And the slide that's up is a little bit of a sample of that. So one thing that we're doing at the moment as part of that is we run a report from the system and invite a certain cohort of patients to meet me at an already established physical activity event in the community and offer people a free first session. If it isn't free already, we set that up for them. The photos there are a walking group in Berkhamsted that goes from the leisure centre and a senior exercise class in Cheddington. And we've got more events lined up in Tring and Berkhamsted as well at the moment. And we found that's a really good way to get people involved. If people are expecting to meet me there, so we send personalised invites, letting people know that I'm going to be there. So there's going to be a friendly face from the practice there, and they can have a go. And that's been really successful so far. I did run into a guy today who had been at one of the groups through the invites, and he said it was getting him out the house more, and he's been back every single week since. So that's really perfect. And his daughter had been along and tried it as well. There are some other projects, like we have had a pilot of healthy lifestyle group that was run by myself and our paramedic Natalie Hartley, and we're hoping to run one of those soon again in Tring or Berkhamsted. So I think I'll wrap that up there, unless there's anything that I've forgotten that Steve knows about. Otherwise, let's go to the next person.
Thank you, Claire.
Bye.
Ina, our social prescriber, was going to be next, but I don't think she's managed to get on with us today. So a brief explanation what a social prescriber does. So quite often we'll have patients which attend the practice to see a GP or the mental health nurse, or Claire, for example, and they don't have a clinical issue. So a typical example would be they come to the practice because, for example, they have depression, and the underlying reason for that depression is because they have financial problems. So yes, we could, the GP could give them some medication, but that doesn't solve the underlying cause, which is to fix the financial problem. So the aim of the social prescriber is to, working with the individual and signposting them to specialists outside the practice, is to get them that help they need. So it's that non-clinical help which patients regularly come to a practice, to a GP to be seen, where the underlying cause isn't medical. And so those social issues, and that's where the social prescribers come in. Social prescribers were one of the first additional roles brought into practice a few years ago, and been very successful, but obviously looking also to see how we can roll them out and use them better with the various different patients and patient problems going into the future. So that's our social prescribers. Just going to turn now to practice update. So I'll just update my screen. So for next just a few minutes, just to update you really on some of the where we are with the practice and what potentially we'll be looking at over the next 12 months. Just to put it into context, Rothschild House Group, we have a patient list of 44,000 patients, so that's just over 25,000 in Tring and Pitstone, 12.5 in Berkhamsted, and 6,000 in Margate. So quite a sizable practice. And some of you may know that we're actually part of Alpha PCN, so that's us with a couple of smaller practices from Berkhamsted, and we make up, say, 75% of that primary care network. But the aim of that primary care network is for us to work collaboratively together to try and improve patient care. So sometimes we'll come together, for example, COVID vaccinations or other initiatives to try and actually collectively do better for our patients. So this is kind of looking back over the last 12 months. So just looking at appointments first. So in the last 12 months, we've done over 220,000 appointments, which is obviously a considerable amount Of those, about 22% are our GP triage. So that's when patients phone in or contact us via e-consult with an urgent issue, and then we review those. But 74% of what we do is face-to-face against the national average of 68%. So that's a good marker there. We do 38% of our appointments same day. That's across all clinicians against the national average of 43. One of the reasons ours is a bit lower than that is because we have each patient has their usual GP. And if a patient contacts us, for example, today, and that issue can wait until tomorrow, would rather they wait until tomorrow to see their usual GP, and that has a lot better improved patient outcomes if they're always seeing the same GP as much as possible. 75% of our appointments are seen within 2 weeks versus a national average of 82%. And in some respects, for the same reason, having a usual GP can reduce that a little bit. And we are working on how we can continue to improve that. We have 5% of our appointments aren't attended, patients don't attend. And most of those actually come from face-to-face appointments where people, for whatever reason, decide not to cancel their appointment and don't come in. With 220,000 total appointments, 5% is still a large number. It works out about 12,000 appointments a year patients don't attend. So quite a sizable thing, but that's all within or just under the national average. For those patients which have had urgent issues recently, you'll know we use online e-consultations, and you'll see there on the top right hand corner how the total number has increased. Not going to go into the details over the last couple of years, and more recently when we've actually moved to using e-consultations over the last couple of months a lot more on a day-to-day basis. Telephone calls, again, quite staggering large number. 8,500 calls last year. They've dropped this year mainly because we're using more e-consultations. The average queue time last year was just over 3 minutes, and it's gone up a little bit to 5 minutes. And again, because we're taking a bit longer on the telephone call to talk to patients and to explain things and to, if they need to help them fill in their consultation forms. But obviously today we have callbacks which are now available for patients who can't wait on for those 5 minutes to be answered. And lastly there, the friends and family tests. So over the last 12 months, we sent text outs to patients who've had appointments, of those who've responded, those 1,200. So 94% said they thought our service to them was good or very good. So that's actually a very good score. We always welcome patient feedback. We review and respond to all patient feedbacks to ensure we continuously improve on what we're doing. And we're also grateful for the many positive comments that we receive as well. And here are just a few of them which we receive. And just a quick staff update to where we are, because we always get questions about staff updates. So some of you may know these GPs and staff, and some of you may not. But Dr. Woodger, who's at Berkhamsted, he left us at the beginning of June to move into occupational health, which is a strong interest of his. Dr. Bowen at Tring is now on maternity leave, and Dr. Wainwright, partner at Tring, if not aware, retires at the end of June. Dr. Brito at Tring has returned from maternity leave. Dr. Cronin, also on maternity leave, returns in September. And we have 2 new GPs starting in September, Dr. Hughes and Dr. Sasitharan at Tring and Berkhamsted. And it's worthy to know both of those were with us about a year ago as trainee GPs, and having completed their training, they've wanted to come back to us, which is again a good indication of the training which we're providing our trainee GPs. And also worthy of note that we have actually 3 members of staff this year who've been with us for 1 for 20 years and 2 for 25 years. So we'll be celebrating that achievement with them. And a quick focus really for 2025. So we can continue to see how we can improve our GP triage, and that's to ensure that we can manage the demand coming into the practice. Look at how we can make sales more effective and efficient by use of technology and potentially even the use of AI. And again, all of that is about improving patient access. For those patients which live in Tring, they'll be fully aware of the Tring housing development, which is likely to go ahead of up to 2,500 houses over the next 10 years if planning permission goes ahead as it's likely to. So we'll be fully involved with our ICB and also the developer in actually working out the primary care requirement to kind of source that and what we need to be able to provide. And obviously, there's the impact on GP services and the wider NHS system through the government changes to the NHS, which are just in the process of being announced. So we're unaware really of what those are yet. So as those come through, we'll get involved with those and again on how they impact and how they will change or improve the GP services which we can offer everybody. So, patient questions. Over to you, Robert.
Thank you. Am I on now?
Yeah, just to introduce.
Yeah, okay. So our pre-submitted questions have been grouped into 6 themes, which Dr. Thomson and Steve Sharpe are going to answer. You can ask questions as you go, and if you look at the top of your Teams screen, you'll see there's a chat bubble with a little red dot or something similar. So feel able to ask questions. But I would say that we're probably not going to have enough time tonight to answer those questions, but what we intend to do is theme them in the same way as we've themed the questions we're going to look at now, and we'll address those in the next PPG newsletter. So I'm going to hand over to Dr. Thomson to start us off with the questions.
So good evening, everyone. So the first question that was submitted is about working people and access to appointments out of normal GP surgery time. So being at work full time, we find it difficult to attend appointments. What do you offer in the evenings and weekends? So there's been a significant change to this service since April of this year. Previously, we overflowed appointments to an external service where they used locums. So if you were seeing someone on a Saturday, for example, and sometimes for evening appointments, it wouldn't be with one of our practice doctors. So that's something that we very much wanted to change. So we've brought all of that in-house. So now our out of hours and our normal hours, we start at 8:30 in the morning seeing patients, and our phones are closed at 6:30 in the evening. So outside of those hours, we have evening appointments. Those are primarily aimed at working people. Occasionally they are if there's something urgent that's come up during the day and we've overflowed that from our urgent triage. But what we do with those evening appointments, the majority of the partners do those clinics on approximately one every week or every other week. So we have evening appointments where our own patients can see us. They're usually telephone based because that tends to work best for most people. We sometimes speak to people as they're just jumping on and off trains, etc., or they're just arriving home. But that works extremely well. So those are usually with your own GP. They're available to book via patient services, and sometimes they are allocated from us triaging requests for appointments. The second type, which is the newer thing, that we introduced in April has been formal Saturday clinics. So at these, we've tried to open up the service to cover much more than just straightforward GP appointments. So we're offering smear clinics for working women. That's often it's often terribly difficult to take enough time to get out of work, particularly if you're a teacher, where it's really, really difficult. It has a significant impact on your working life. So we're offering smear clinics on Saturdays. We're also offering minor surgery. So we do a clinic where we remove skin lesions, take biopsies, do a whole bunch of things, usually skin related, and those are now also available on Saturdays. In addition, we have specific GP face-to-face appointments. They can be phone, but primarily face-to-face. And we are also looking at the possibility. At the moment, we're restricted by the laboratory facilities that we use, but we're hoping to also be able to offer blood tests. So that's a significant amount of clinical time. They are very much focused, as I've said, for people that work. So what we don't really want to be doing is encouraging people that can attend in normal surgery hours to be taking those slots. How do you book into those? They'll be offered by our patient services team when you contact us. And again, if there are some urgent appointment requests that we're triaging, the outcome may be that you're also offered a Saturday appointment. Certainly seems to be going really well, and we'll continue to evolve the services as we go. But the key message is you'll see a Rothschild house doctor, so you won't see someone externally as a locum and then be asked to come back in and repeat the whole thing again during the week with your own GP. So we've had good feedback, and I hope that that will really make a difference. The second question is about the balance between face-to-face and telephone appointments, and Steve, I think, summarised the percentage that we do face-to-face. But in reality, if it's an appointment that you're requesting, it can be at a patient's preference, face-to-face or telephone. And essentially all our appointment slots can be either. However, with a really important caveat, if we have triaged someone, for example, you've got abdominal pain, or we want to have a look at a skin lesion face to face, we often do that quite well with photographs, but we might need to bring someone in, or we need to examine, then we would specify that that should be face to face. Telephone appointments can be really flexible. They can work really well for people, especially if you're trying to juggle work or you're working from home. But sometimes it isn't good enough. So we will sometimes specify, but other than that, if it's clinically reasonable to be done over the phone, we will do that for you as well. And if when you ring up, the patient services prime tells you, well, I've got an available telephone slot. If it's during normal working hours, that can very easily be at your request converted to face-to-face. So the message is we're super flexible. The final area that I was going to cover was really about triage, and Steve mentioned that. It's something that we've been using in the practice now for almost 4 years, and we've evolved it over that period of time. So we were probably one of the first practices to do it, certainly in the local area, and now it's becoming much, much more widespread. And the reason for doing that is making sure that the patients who need appointments get them, and they get them at an appropriate and timely way for the clinical problem that they have and that they want to discuss. So that has worked in the main incredibly well. We get huge amounts of positive feedback, and we made a decision as a practice to only triage the urgent requests so that patients can still book an appointment with their own doctor without having to explain all the reasons why they need the appointment. Many practices have what we call total triage, so you basically can't get an appointment unless you fill in a form. So we've shied away from that, certainly at least for now. But again, we may have to be flexible based on demand. Just to give you a feel of the numbers, when we're triaging across all of the sites, so Steve mentioned we're a practice that covers about 44,000 patients. We will deal with somewhere between 200 and 350 urgent appointment requests every day, and that gives you hopefully a very good idea about why we need to triage, because there is no way we could possibly offer that level of appointments on the day. So we've been doing that, and that's largely been going very well, and our focus is to get the appropriate outcome for the patient in the right time frame and give them the right kind of appointment. Sometimes it will just be giving advice or try something. Sometimes it will be, actually, we'd like you to see a nurse first, and we'd like you to have some blood tests. We might like you to have an ECG. So a few things might be done ahead of your actual GP appointment. We introduced a change though recently, and that is also one of the questions that we've had submitted. So why have you asked patients to submit an online request to see their GP if they have an urgent problem? So previously, you could speak to one of our patient services team and they would write down everything, or you could send in an e-consult, so you'd have either option. Over time, we have noticed that actually the information we get when patients are submitting it directly themselves is much more focused. And so you don't have to explain it to someone and then they retype it. So you can just basically submit everything then and there. The e-consult system has some useful templates, so it will ask a lot of questions related to the type of problem. And certainly what we find is that when we're then looking at that scenario to triage, to decide when does the patient need an appointment, we pretty much get everything we need. So it's brilliant for GPs, and hopefully it's also great for patients, because we're not ringing you back and going, oh, can we just have a little bit more information? The GP's asked for a little bit more about this. That almost never happens when we use the e-consult. And it's not time dependent. So you can submit this at 8 a.m. in the morning. You can submit it at 7 a.m. in the morning. You can submit it at any time of day and it will be dealt with on the day. And you don't have to sit on the phone waiting to get your information into us, and everything is allocated to the GPs in the order that it's come in, and we have a system where we can flag anything that looks very urgent so that gets looked at very quickly. So we're doing this because actually it makes the whole system more efficient and hopefully better for the patient population. So I hope that gives a little bit of insight and responds well enough to the questions, but obviously happy to take any further as we go. Thank you.
Thanks, Kate. So we have 3 further questions which of themes which we were asked to provide some feedback on. And the next one was, why have you created a new website recently? Well, the previous website had several problems with it. Difficult to find things, the general presentation was very old, and it didn't meet what is known as the Access Information Standards. They basically allow patients who have disabilities such as being blind to access a website properly. So having completed a lot of expert research by the NHS into the best design for a website in how it's been used by patients and what we should and shouldn't include as content, we've taken this guidance to create our new website, and also took the opportunity to ensure that the feel of the website also reflected where our surgeries are located in Tring, Berkhamsted and Markgate. Feedback from our PPG has been very positive, and that we hope it is also from our general patients as well. So that was kind of the main reasons which we've updated our website. We'll continue to look at it and obviously make minor adjustments as we go through. But we've taken a lot of guidance from the NHS and organisations which are being used to set up and develop the new websites, and hopefully it's a big improvement from what we've had previously. The next question very much centres around booking appointments online, and will it be possible to book more appointments online in the future? So the basic answer to this is yes. This is something we're presently working on and hopefully will go live from July. Currently, the only real option has been for patients to book an appointment online using the NHS app. We currently have GP appointments and first contact physio appointments that can be booked in this way. We've tried other appointments such as phlebotomy and some nurse appointments, but have found that patients essentially book the wrong appointment with the wrong clinician, or patients book, for example, a blood appointment when no one has requested them to actually provide a sample, which we then have to completely unravel. Where we have specific clinics, then we do text currently patients a booking link to those patients that just show the appointments we need the patients to book into, which works well, but can't really be used for more general appointments. So a typical example, which people see quite a lot, is things like for COVID appointments or flu appointments, but we also do it, for example, for like chronic disease annual reviews as well. Booking an appointment is actually a lot more complicated than you think. So does the patient know who to book with in the first place? Different medical issues may require a different appointment times. Different clinicians may be qualified to do different procedures. Some procedures need to be grouped together into a clinic to be efficient. So lots of things to think about. And this is the reason why currently we ask patients to explain their problem to our patient services, then they can identify the most suitable clinician for them to see. So a basic example would be a patient who has a problem with a sore shoulder, and they think, oh, I need a GP appointment. Well, the GP is not the right person. It's the first contact physio, Ravi and his colleagues. The online booking we are working on will primarily be initially for non-GP appointments and access through our website. And hopefully in the later, it may become available on the NHS app. Routine GP appointments will still be through the NHS app, which will kind of link through to them. And as we say, we're hopefully going to bring the GP appointments on in the future. The GP appointments are a little bit more difficult because a lot of them are based around urgent requirements and urgent basis, and a lot of people who put in an urgent request on the day, it turns out once it's been triaged, it may become a routine. So we're having a look over the next few months on how best the GP appointments, online booking for GP appointments can be worked. But hopefully, from the beginning of July, we'll have much more access to online appointments for all our nurse and other clinicians' appointments. So that's hopefully good news. And finally, we had a questions or an area on proxy access. So if we have family members who find it difficult to contact the practice or order repeat prescriptions, can we do this for them? Well, again, the simple answer here is yes, and is undertaken by the family member essentially giving consent for proxy access. This then allows that other person to have access to all these areas in the NHS app. We can also take instructions if you call us, but have to abide by confidentiality in the information we can give you if consent from the patient has not been given. In addition to the patient giving us consent to speak with yourselves, they may have a lasting power of attorney which can be registered with us. But the best option really, if you're in this situation, is to have a look on our website for some more information, or just pop in or speak to one of our patient services team, and they can advise you with your specific individual circumstances and on how best to manage that, you and also the person who can't easily book repeat prescriptions or make appointments as such. So hopefully that answers those questions. So over to you, Rob.
Thank you. So thank you, Steve and Kate. Hopefully that covers the questions or the pre-submitted questions that have been put in. And for those, again, that have written questions as we've gone along, we'll answer those thematically in the next newsletter. And to receive the letter and join the Patients Participation Group, go to the Rothschild website, the new website, go to the search piece at the top of the website, put in PPG, Patients Participation Group, you just need the initials PPG, scroll down and you'll find a link and that'll enable you to join both for the letter and the group, and I really encourage you to do so if you're not already joined. So it remains me now to just thank Ben, who's been in the background managing the IT tonight, and Kate and Steve and Claire and Ravi and Matt for their time, presentations and thoughts this evening. A copy of this presentation will be online, and there'll be a link from the newsletter. So finally, I hope having been here for the last hour, you'll be able to go out into the garden if you're fortunate to have one and enjoy the rest of the evening there. So thank you and goodbye.